The parasha of this week is the last parasha that we are going to be seeing in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar HaSefer, and we are going to see the final preparations of our great leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, a teacher and prophet, Moses, giving the last advice and notes to his people, to the second generation who came out of Egypt. Those ones that are going to go and they are going to take the land. We as parents, those ones we are parents, especially those ones who have gone through the process of letting our children leave home, leave the nest. You know, sometimes we do not know how much advice we can give it to them. But always we are reluctant for them to live without, in our way of thinking as parents, they are not smart enough, they don't have enough experience for life. And we are trying to give it as much that we can. One of the greatest mistakes that us as parents is when we keep our children so incubated, call it, or so close that we do not allow them to grow up and we do not allow to learn to defend themselves for themselves. And that is a big mistake. And this is an art that is very difficult sometimes to manage, to make a balance. How much I allow my children to have freedom, how much I need to control them in the time they are growing up. When they are babies, when they are toddlers, when they are growing up, there is no problem. The problem begins when they become teenagers. Because more and more they want their own freedom, they want to experience themselves. And we as parents are we are frantic because we do not know what to do. We really say, if we allow them to do, they are not smart enough, or they are not clever enough, or they do not know enough in order to face life. You know, I'm always around our children, and it doesn't matter how much we have stopped them, how much we have cared for them. There are sometimes children around them, little friends, that they have had a totally different upbringing, from parents that were totally absent, and from adults that never care about the welfare. And these children are the ones that are now the wise on the streets. And they are the ones that are going to influence our children, because our children are influenced by peer pressure. The peer pressure is very hard to destroy. And if you do not believe me, we as adults, we are under peer pressure. Look at the way that you dress, look at the way that you look at the way that you do certain things, and you're going to see how much peer pressure is in this society. Okay? All of us, we are under that pressure. But in our children's world, this is the age that our children start thinking they are smarter than their fathers, their parents. There is the age that they know everything and the parents don't know anything. This is the time that they think they are so smart that why they need to listen to their parents. The parents are old-fashioned. They never heard what is going on. They don't know. They are so dummy. They don't know the reality. You know? You are a party pooper, that would say to the parents. I remember growing up, I remember being so smart. You know? And then little by little, you mature and you start realizing that really your parents knew something of what they were telling you. But sometimes too late. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu is facing something similar. The first generation has died because of the sin of the spies. As our Creator told them, all of you generation are going to disappear with the exception of Caleb and YASHUV. this a new generation. A generation that didn't suffer the oppressions of Egypt. A generation that only heard from their parents how wonderful was Egypt. To the point that in the travel you hear that they themselves say, we were better in Egypt. And they never were in Egypt. But they say, we were better in Egypt. How can say that they were better in Egypt? Well, because my parents told me that Egypt was better. You know, how many of us, I remember when I began to go to the former Soviet Union, when they just, after the 89, they opened their borders. And we were one of the first ones to arrive in that area, looking for Jewish people. And I remember that many of them were moving outside the former Soviet Union. Wherever they could get an opening, they will go. And I was in Italy, in Rome, where there was a place there that had becoming a hub of immigrants from the Soviet Union, that they were moving to different parts. Most of them they were going to Israel, but as much that they could, many of them they didn't want to go to Israel. They wanted to go to Australia, to the United States, or to Canada. That were the three main countries that they wanted to go. And they couldn't go, they would go to South America. South America was like the last one, but less Israel. You know, that's how they wanted to go. Then, finally they left. And then, after a while, when they were in the other part of the world, some of the elderly people, they start complaining. And they will say, and that happened here in Montreal with one of these elderly people that had the opportunity to talk in Jewish. In Russia we were better. She told us that. In Russia we had housing, we had heat, we had food, and we had work. I am not kidding you. I was looking at her, and my mouth was falling around, you know, because I had been there, I had seen where they were living. Okay? But this is the idealization. You know? This is the idea. But the young people, you better. The young people will say, give me a break, I don't want to go back there. No? But sometimes you are brainwashed. And being brainwashed, you start believing what they say. And that's what happened with the second generation. The Moshe Rabbeinu tried by his best means. He knew that he was not going to be able to accompany them to the other side. And he was only to be able to go to the mountain and to see the conquering land. And then he was going to sleep with his forefathers. Now, he's going to be with them. And what do I tell them before I die? Before I leave? Can you imagine his anguish and his desire? And did I forget something to tell them? I told them everything that they needed to know. Do they know this and do they know that? You know, I remember when Ron and I, we needed to go to some place and leave our children, which at the beginning, we would leave them with some adults to stay in the house because we were afraid. But the first time that we left, and left them alone, I was like 3 days without being able to sleep because the first thing I was thinking, my son was able to turn the stove off. And he left the pot there, do we have a fire in the house? We are going to find a house when we come back. You know? Those things only parents go through. No? And we learn those things through our experience. This is the reason that many of us, we can identify right now with Moshe Rabbeinu and the anguish that he's going through. Telling his chickens, his kids, you know, please do this. Well, comes to this story. And he's going to make a recount about all the stations, not all the stations, but the most important stations, the stops in their journey that they made from one place to another in the first 2 years, and then in the other 38 years. In the first 2 years, interestingly enough, supposedly there were 14 stops. After the spies, there were another to 42. You know? Then, 28. What is interesting here is all multiples of 7. 2 by 14, you know, 4 by 7, and then you have the total is 6 by 7. Numbers. And sometimes you say, I told you that in the Torah, gematria plays a very interesting role. It gives us subliminal messages, if we can call it in that way, to tell us about how God, blessed be His name, is working in all of this. There is nothing here that we can say that we can take it that is for nothing. Not that we cannot understand it doesn't mean that the information is for nothing. You know, most of the time the information has a meaning, and we need to discover that information through studies and through prayer and through revelation of God Himself. Also, I told you that Moshe Rabbeinu and many of the rabbis teach us it is a type of Mashiach. It's a type of the Messiah that is the one that is going to be called by God to lead His people to freedom. Now, there are 2 types of slaveries. Okay? They call it the physical slavery. You know, the physical slavery is the slavery that you have been put into, or that you've been forced into, that you suffer physically. But the worst type of slavery is the spiritual slavery. It's a slavery of the soul. It's a slavery of the one that we don't see it in front of us, but we suffer from it. And the consequences at the end are going to be physical. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the type of leader that wanted the total freedom for his people. Because freedom is not only about oppression of certain group of people. Believe me or not, freedom is the worst type of slavery, is the oppression that you put yourself into. That is the worst oppression that anybody can suffer. How many of us, we suffer oppression of ourselves? Sometimes we call it mental illness. Sometimes we call it that is some kind of addiction. You know, sometimes we call it that is a tic, or whatever we wanted to call it. You know, it's a weakness that we have. But it is an oppression. And God wants deliverance of all of us. Because through salvation in the Torah, it's not about to go to a better world. Because if that's the ways, then we are like we are no better than the Islam or the Arabs. They believe that the better thing is to die and to go to heaven, to go to paradise. It's totally the contrary. Our God is talking about deliverance here on earth. But we have become so put on the air, we have sublimized everything, that we are under the smoke of thinking that we are very spiritual. And we have over-spiritualized everything, and we have forgotten that we are here on this earth, and we are living here, and we are responsible for what we do here on earth. If the only thing that was born was to go to paradise, I shoot myself and go. That's what is the idea. God gave us life for a reason. And meanwhile we are here, we are responsible. That is what I have been talking over and over and over again. I'm finishing this book, I felt like a Moshe Rabbeinu. What I can tell you, everything that we have talked in this book, that are important to us to make points and to make it to last. You know, we talk about returning. We're talking about teshuvah. We're talking about re-encounter with yourself. We're talking about to be honest with yourself in order that you can be honest with the rest. We are talking about to come back to God. And we are talking that in order to come back to God, first of all, we need to acknowledge who we are. Secondly, we need to confess what we have done wrong. Third, we need to make the reparations. And fourth, we are back with Him. You know, it is a process. But many of us, we live in the never-ending land. You know, we live in la la land. We will live in the air. You know, we are floating. We are so spiritual that we don't have our feet on the floor. We live flying instead to be here down to earth. Remember, what accounts what you do here on your life. Not what you are going to do in heaven. Not when your wings are going to grow. But here. This is Israel today. This is the reason that sometimes I cry out for my own people. Because I see that our destruction is not the Hamas. Our destruction we are creating to ourselves. Because more and more we are away from God. And we are start thinking that our powerful army is the one that's going to defend us. We are in the wrong place. I have seen people not long ago to boast about that Israel is too powerful for anybody to defeat them. They don't give credit to our eternal God. We are the one that did it. And I hear those voices and I cry out. That pride needs to be eliminated. We need to humble ourselves before God. This is the only way that we really, we can go back to Him. Humble yourself. That pride, there is no room for us. And right now Israel is suffering. I told you last week that one of the problems of Israel, that they want to be so much, to be accepted by the world, that they are proud to say that we do this and we do that like the rest of the world. Even things that are horrible, even things that the Tanakh tells us, the Torah tells us, that are horrible before the eyes of God. And we now have become so smart and we say, no, God didn't mean that. And we are so eloquent that we can change the direction of what God is telling us. And we need to be careful that we become too smart. We need to be careful that we are not, again, these proud people that we need to be chastised again. The humbleness needs to come. At the end of chapter 33, there is something very interesting that when God is talking to this second generation, verse 50 in chapter 33. The Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab. You need to see Moab. What is Moab? You know, it's in the south, on the other side of the Jordan River. It is where Jordan and Saudi Arabia are there, in that area. Okay, this is Moab. It says, by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all inhabitants of the land before you. And you shall destroy all their prostrations, stones. All their molten images shall you destroy, and all their high places shall you demolish. You shall possess the land, and you shall settle in it. For to you have it, I give in the land to possess it. You shall give the land as inheritance by law to your families. To the many you shall increase inheritance, and to the few shall you decrease its inheritance. Wherever its lot shall fall, he shall be. According to the tribes of your father shall you inherit it. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land before you, those of them who you leave shall be a pin in your eyes and thorn in your sides, and they will harass you upon the land in which you dwell. And it shall be that what I have meant to do to them, I shall do to you. Sometimes we say, to a good listener, few are the words. Israel, in the present humanitarian reason, we say, let's not throw these people out. Israel had many plans through all these years, since 1948. What many people do not know is Israel had a war against all the Arab countries, even before it became a country. In 1947, they tried to kill all of them, and they survived. Even the British Kingdom, United Kingdom, was against Israel. It was against the immigration. They were throwing them out. They needed to smuggle the immigration. Israel was not allowed to have weapons to defend themselves against all the Arab nations. Even before they became a nation. May 15, 1948, all the Arab nations, they declared a war against Israel. They just had no hours of being a nation. And they needed to suffer one of the worst wars for independence. Not independence, for establishment, statehood. Miraculously, because there is no other way to express it, we defeated them. I don't know how still there are Israelis who cannot give credit to God for that. And they are, by the way. Because there was no room for men. That was only Almighty God, blessed be His name, who did it. And this has been the beginning of the currency of wars that we have faced, one after the other. And all of them looks like that we were going to be disappear, and suddenly something happened, and we overcome. But what is the problem? When you give credit to yourself instead of giving credit to God Almighty, you are going to suffer the consequences. Pride is a very destructive crime. And when you cannot admit that you are under the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and He is the shield that is protecting us. Not only that, Israel proposed, by the way, this is important that you understand. Until the last war before this intifadas that we have with all the Arab countries against Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Jordania, and Egypt, directly to us, our soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, they never killed a Palestinian. Ever. You know why? Because they didn't exist. Please, those dummy people who they do not know the truth. Sometimes many said, you know who were called Palestinians until that time? The Jewish people. Do you know how it was the Jerusalem Post, our newspaper that we have today? Do you know how it was called? The Palestinian Post. Okay, how we can deny a fact? Suddenly, and I believe that was a mistake of Israel. Suddenly, Israel defeated the Arabs. And they left this vacuum of territory who really belongs to three countries. To Syria, to Jordan, and to Egypt. And what this country did, typical Arab people, they put the boundaries and they said, this is not mine. Why? Because the Arabs can never ever accept defeat. Do you know that in the war of the Sinai Peninsula, where Israel took over and took all the Sinai Peninsula, when they made peace with Anwar Sadat, in order that Anwar Sadat looked like that was a winner, Israel gave them back all the territory for peace. Anwar Sadat went back to Egypt saying that we have beaten the Israelis. Until today in Egypt, they celebrate that day as a victory day of the war against Israel. Israel doesn't care about who wins. We want the peace. Our greetings is shalom. We want peace. We don't want war. Israel proposed to the so-called Arabs that were put in this territory to move them out because neither Syria, Jordan, or Egypt wanted to take them. Okay? Their own Arabs people, they didn't want to take them. To the point, have you heard about the Black September massacre? Today they say that were the Jews who killed the Palestinians. You know who massacred the Palestinians at that moment? They were Arabs that lived in the corridor? The Jordanians.
What year was that?
Okay? The blacks that go look in the book. This is something that most of the Arab people do not know the truth. But the proposal was this. There is a lot of land in the Sinai, in the arid desert of the Saudi Arabia and Jordania that is inhabited. And Israel was going to pay that infrastructure to move those people to have a country. And the Arabs say no, because they prefer to have the suffering people there in order to make look Israel bad. And that's the mistake of Israel, to me. Israel allowed these people to stay there. They need to throw them out to their people. Not to kill them, by the way. I said to throw them out. Our great general and Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, who was a great warrior, a great man. At the end, he was tired of war. And he became thinking, and that's a wishful thinking. If we give it back to these people, Gaza, we want to have peace with them, like we did with the Egyptians. As soon as we gave them Gaza, the Hamas took over against the Fatah group? No, and when they took it, nobody tell you about the thousands of Arabs that they killed themselves to take over. But we, Israel, are the genocide country in the world. They say that we have killed today more than 900 people, among them more than 500 women and children. Today. Assad, the president of Syria, has killed more than 2.5 million. And nobody said anything. He has gassed his own people, murdering thousands of children. No? Right now, there is a group called ISIS in the middle of Syria, in the border of Syria and Iraq. They just destroyed one of the most holy mosques called Juna Mosque. That is the supposed prophet Jonas was buried there. Among themselves. But they are no genocide. We the Jews, we are genocide. This is the reason that when I hear somebody say, you the Jews are killing babies and children, I say, where are you getting your news? Because it is important. Yes, there are casualties. And we regret the innocent people dying. But give me a break. Who is the one that has put those children and those women in that place? These are Hamas shield. They have a human shield. They themselves call it in that way. They have. Why the news, they don't tell you that? Why the news don't tell you that if you want to revert against them, they shoot you in the back? And then they say, look at what the Israel army has done. A massacre. Do you know that still today there is an investigation? The problem that there cannot be an honest investigation. The investigation, do you remember not long ago, there were 7 children that were playing on the beach and they were killed? There was a bomb of Israel killed them. Now they are looking again, like in the United Nations school. They were Hamas. One of the sayings of the Hamas leaders, the West cannot take the death of children and women. They are weak. And we are overcoming. This is a people who glorious on death and despise life. And to me the saddest part is there are people who give these people the benefit of the poor people. I understand that we can say poor people, the civilians and the children that are dying. I totally understand that part. Because we pray and we cry for them too. Because we are not criminals. But let's put responsibility upon those ones who are doing that. You know, they said at the beginning they discovered 30 tunnels. Only 30. Now they have discovered that 60 more. They have been taken, as soon as they were given, they just, and I can send it to you if you want it, the pictures of all these tunnels that they have discovered. And you know how they discovered the tunnel? Because they went, and while they bombarded, they went the IDF, and they took what they had been left. And those people who were building the tunnels, they had taken pictures millions and millions and millions of dollars that the world send to the Palestinians, the billion, okay, they have been, instead to use to build, now I hope that now they want to start building again, you know? They have used it to build tunnels. You know what was the strategy of the Hamas? They have built tunnels inside Israel, and they were going to be, the next step was to go into the, first of all, in the kibbutz and the moshav that are around the area, and kill the children and the women. Because they say that that will demoralize the people, Israel. And then you hear something that's so cursed that I don't know how the people. In the news they say, look at how they say. The Palestinian deaths are around 900 and only 40 among the Jews. Only 40. This is not a proportional war. First of all, when you have a war, you try to avoid to be killed, by the way. That's the first. Secondly, we believe in life, not in death. We don't believe in martyrs, we believe in living. This is a big difference. We take care of our people. But this parasha of this week is going to teach us something that's very important that all of us we need to learn. Doesn't matter that we are the chosen people, doesn't matter that we're Israel, doesn't matter that in the nation that have been chosen to bless the other part of the world. Doesn't matter all of that. If we as Israel, we are not faithful to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we suffer the consequences. And right now we are borderline. And my prayer, honest prayer, is I am praying for our leaders, that they put heed to the words of our prophets, especially Moshe Rabbi. I hope that their eyes are open like in Zechariah, and they can see our Messiah YASHUV. And they can lament what they did, and they really do honest teshuvah in order to bring us back again. The shalom that we are looking for. Because believe me or not, shalom only comes through God. It cannot come through men. This is totally in the imagination, wishful thinking. When people think, I would like to have peace with you. We are humans. As humans, we are limited in what we can do. We need totally an eradication of our evil part. And all of us, we are guilty. All of us. Like our Messiah Yeshua said, Lord, the first one that is without fault, throw the stone. Who can throw the stone? We are all part of the problem. And we need to start changing. We need to start changing. And we need to start becoming closer to Him. I'm praying for it in Israel that goes back to God, not to religion, not to guilty I am, ashamed of me, no. But to really search within ourselves and look for the truth of what I am. After this parasha, I wish that you can see what is the territory that Israel is given by God. We are not even touching 30% of that territory. That tell you that in the future something else wonderful is going to come. But also I mentioned to you a little bit last week and come back again to be mentioned. It's about the 9.5 tribes plus the 2 tribes and a half that they choose their own territory. And this is to give us an idea about us as human beings, about what it means to depend on God and what it means to depend on ourselves. And we need to be balanced. Like I said to you, balance is a very difficult act. Yes, we need to depend on God. But depending on God doesn't mean that I'm going to lay down in my bed and wait that God does everything. Depending on God means that I work and He bless me. Because if I don't work, I don't eat. That's in the scriptures. It is not that, Lord, please give me everything I need. No, work for it, God's going to bless you. We believe on that principle. But the other side too is horrible. The person who thinks that I need to make more and more and more and more and I don't care about Shabbats, I don't care about God, I don't care about anything else. It's only to make money or wealth. The strings are not good. We need to go in the middle. You know, when I became a believer in the Messiah YASHUV, one of the things that I started seeing from the beginning was the hypocrisy of the religious people. And that really filled me up with anger. I say, how could be these people that they say and they talk about God and they can be double-faced, double-tongued? And I always had a problem. Some of my friends say, what happened is you are a rebel without cause. Doesn't matter what you are, you're going to find a problem to somebody else. You know? And sometimes I start checking myself and say, maybe they are right. Maybe I am the kind of person that I am so critical that I see only evil and I don't see anything right. I try with all my means to be in places where I saw that the people really care for other people. And sooner or later, I found myself that was totally a facade. Why? I learned it with the time. The most of us, do you remember I started saying to you about the peer pressure? Do you remember I told you about how we are influenced by others? To us, it's more important what somebody say about us than who we really are. We are more worried about others than whether we do it right or not. That is whether we live our lives. That is the reason it's so difficult to be honest with the young people. Because the young people see through. And then as the young people become totally out of this situation, they say, who cares about these people? Why do I need to go to the synagogue? Why do I need to go to do this? If the people are, look at who they are. And then we complain that the young people cannot see the truth. How they can see the truth? They have seen the adults doing what is not right. In the name of God. It is time that we take our responsibilities right. I receive sometimes questions from different people. And then I always believe that the intention of the heart is the most important thing. And I believe that most of us want to do what is right. There's no question about it. But sometimes to take the right position is painful. And sometimes will be misunderstood by others. But we need to do it. Sometimes we don't have choices. Why do you think God asked Israel to get rid of all the people around him? Because sooner or later they're going to take your eyes out. Sooner or later they are going to convince you to do what is wrong. Sooner or later you are going to fall in their trap. It's like a little dropping of water over a rock. Through the time you make a hole. Little by little it's falling over your head and you start changing your way of thinking without you realizing. And then gets to the point that you confuse what is right, what is wrong. And suddenly, lo and behold, you become believing in everything what is wrong. And you think it's right. And you didn't realize that you went through that process. This is the reason that sometimes you need to shake your head and you need to do this and say, let me clarify my idea. By the way, Israel is not the best people in the world. Sorry to tell you that as a Jew. But Israel has been chosen by God to do certain jobs. Like the rest of the world have been chosen to do other jobs. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody is important. It's like to say, who is more important, a man or a woman? The Torah keeps teaching us that we are equal. But there is a role for a woman, there is a role for a man. When we confuse, is when we get in chaos. When we start thinking that what you do is better than what I do, we have problems. When I start envying you because you supposedly you have more or you have better, there is something wrong there. When we as human beings, we start classifying people and saying, my group is better than your group, there is something wrong there. Many of those things have created division in all of us. When we come here to this community, we live outside the door all of these things. And we try to be a peoplehood, to be together, to be one, to help each other. And yes, looks like I am partial to Israel, and yes, looks like that I have taken the side of Israel. And I say looks like. But as a Jew, I can tell you with open mind when Israel does right and when Israel does wrong. Try to do that in the Palestinians, and you're going to see what happened to you. The two last portions of this parasha very quickly. One is about the cities of refuge, Irei Miklat, and the other one is about the redoing the last statement for the sale of daughters, to put it together. The cities of refuge are based on the idea of having a place that for those people who has killed involuntarily, and the people, the families of the people who were killed wouldn't take their lives. That's the reason they were called cities of refuge. There were 6 cities, 3 in each side of the Jordan, and there were cities for the Levites. And the Levites will take these people inside. Meanwhile, these people were inside these places. Nobody could kill them. No, there could be vengeance of them. And only they could leave the city at the time that the Hakohen Gadol will die and there will come a new high priest. Then the person who was in this refuge will get out and nobody could kill him or her. Now, these cities represents about the protection of God to the people who have done something but are not voluntarily or no, they didn't mean it, was like an accident. A protection at that time, with the time that had changed, that we have gained better, our laws are more clear, and nobody now needs to look for vengeance. If you kill me, if you kill one of my family, I want to kill you. We don't have those now, we have laws and we have different things. And finally, the daughters of Zelophehad. And here is a very interesting statement that I would like to make, because it will help us to look at the Torah in a more ample way and not to be so narrow-minded sometimes. You know, in the parashat before, we saw that the daughters of Zelophehad, they came to Moshe Rabbeinu asking that was not fair, that they were their father died and without sons, and for that reason, the daughters, 5 daughters, they were not able to inherit the land. You know, and they were going to be on the streets, basically. That's what they did. Because if they had a brother, that was not a problem. Because the brother will take care of they inherited a piece of land, and the daughter will have a piece of land to live. But in this case, we were disoccupied and were thrown out. Then Moshe Rabbeinu goes and inquires and says, "Did you right? You deserve to inherit the land." And that was the end. Suddenly here at the end comes the elders of the same tribe, the Manasseh tribe, to talk to Moshe Rabbeinu and say, "Moshe, this is not fair." And the question is, why is it not fair? Because if these 5 daughters marry people outside our tribes, our land is going to disappear in no time. The allocation that you have given to us will disappear. Why? Because the women will go with their husbands, and the husband will take the property. Then there is an amendment to this law, and the amendment is, okay, the women have the right to inherit it if there is not a male in the house to inherit it, but on one condition. And the condition is that they need to marry people from the same tribe. In that way, they inherit it, they have the property, but at the same time they have the protection of the tribe. And the tribe is not diminished. Very Solomonic decision in many ways. This is what I would call it a win-win situation. You know, some you will say, what about if the woman doesn't want to marry one of the Manasseh? Well, she doesn't marry one of the Manasseh. She doesn't inherit the land. Very, that's all. And she will be with the person who get married and go to the tribe that she married. I mean, there's nothing critical here that we can cry about it. But here is the principle that I like. Many people think what is written here in the Torah, it is, cannot be molded or cannot be put in a way that later on will go and be modified for the right reason and the right way. What I'm trying to tell you is, look at the modification here. The modification is not, they don't erase what I was saying, but are giving you a possibility of something else. You know, to protect or to give a better understanding. Many times, we are very rigid. Oh, here say this. You know? And we need to be careful what is said and how it's said. And how we can apply it today. There are many things, by the way, many things in the Torah, and even the sages tell you, that cannot be applied today. There's no way that we can apply it. Because we don't have the Mishkan, we don't have the Beit Midrash. No? The Beit Midrash, I'm sorry. We don't have a temple. Then for that reason, many of those, we are not in Eretz Israel. Then we need to be more open-minded and to see what we can and what we cannot do and how we're trying to express it. To remember or to make a point about something is okay. And this goes, by the way, with the different types of, for example, the Hamoedim, the festival. You know, we cannot celebrate the festival according to what scriptures say. But we remember them. You know? It's a time of discord, it's the remembrance. And this is what is important, to remember and to keep these ideas alive. The problem is that we become so taken by the rules of the religion that takes away the joy of the remembrance. We give so many rules how to do it that takes away the joy of doing it. Oh, this day don't do this, don't do that, don't put it this way, don't put it in that. You remember, I remember in Sukkot, when I had the three branches and the apple, you know, and they say, you hold it with your left hand and you hold it with your right hand, and you have it here, and you need to take it in this way and three ways, and you don't do it when you sing the song, no. Hodule Adonai Kitov. If you don't do this and you don't know, you need to repeat it because it's not right. And each person needs to have their own one. You cannot have one for everyone. You know, and your roof needs to be in this way, and your roof needs to be in the way. Need to be 3 walls and not 2 walls. Give me a break. The intention is what is in your heart, what you want to do, what you want to remember. You know, it is one of the most important things that we need to be more clear and open-minded. This is the way finishing this book. How much Rabbi tried to tell the children is this. Please don't get in trouble. You know, please be obedient and do right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.